Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great big beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's Tuesday, the 18th of August, 2026. These are the Taco Tuesday versions of the WTF reports. I'm Dave vonKleist, your host, and I don't trust the media, do you?
You won't be trusted anymore.
Oh, well, you have good reason not to trust the media these days because they're blowing smoke up your butt. Yeah, that's what they do. They're so good at it. They've been practicing for decades and decades, and sadly, a lot of Americans just haven't figured that out yet. But little by little, they surely are. I mean, how can you ignore some of the stuff that's going on right now? We got all kinds of stuff hitting us from the front, the back, the top, the bottom, the right, the left, everywhere. So anyway, yeah, there's a big to-do today. That's easy to say. We've been hearing a lot of scuttlebutt out of Dearborn, Michigan. Of course, we know that Dearborn has a huge Muslim community. And, of course, they have their call to prayer 5 times a day, and they blast their prayers out on huge loudspeakers. And the people who've lived there all their lives have watched this entire community just be taken over. And last week, I think it was, Wednesday or Thursday or something, there was a church bell that rang in Dearborn, Michigan. And, the Muslim community decided that they didn't like that. And so they started complaining about it. And a lot of the residents and people who have been watching what's been going on in Dearborn, Michigan said, that's it. We've had it. You know, I mean, because these Muslims were out there in the streets screaming, death to America, blah, blah, blah. Well, I saw a video over the weekend of thousands of motorcycles heading in that direction. And apparently there's a call for action in Dearborn, Michigan by patriotic Americans that say, hey, this is enough. Enough is enough. So we have to see what's going to happen today in Dearborn, Michigan. We may see a flashpoint. I don't know. I don't know what's going to go on. But anyway, other doings today's date, of course, there's an election going on in Florida. And Dan Bilzerian is, let's just watch what Eric Warsaw posted. Here it is.
Dan Bilzerian has more followers than Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens combined. Now that Dan Bilzerian has entered into politics, that is freaking huge. When he was asked by Alex Jones, if you become president, what's the first thing you're going to do? His response was, I'm going to declare a war on Israel.
If you were the president, what would you do?
I would declare war on Israel.
I mean, can Dan Bilzerian win? He definitely can win. Now, here's the other question is, will they allow him to? Because me personally, I believe that our elections are so infiltrated and just kind of, they're rigged. Israel is rigging our elections. Will they allow Dan Bilzerian to win?
That's a good question. Will they allow Dan Bilzerian to win? Well, we know that a lot of the problems that we've been having with our voting system have not been solved. They've been screaming about election fraud, the 2020 election, 2024 election, people screaming about the voting machines, et cetera, and the mail-in ballots. And from what I understand, not a whole lot has been done to correct the problems that have been created. And I do want to mention that this issue about vote fraud has been going on for decades. I remember when I started my talk radio career, there was a gentleman who had written a book called Vote Scam. James Collier was his name. And I interviewed him. He and his brother had worked together to do a lot of investigating into the integrity of our system of voting. And of course, it found all kinds of problems. And then fast forward to 2004, HBO had a special. It was produced by Bev Harris. It was called Hacking Democracy. And in this documentary, she showed how easy it was to hack into the Dominion machines and the Sequoia machines. Of course, since that time, now they've all changed names, et cetera, but the problems are still there, and they've been there. So the question is Dan Bilzerian going to be, quote unquote, allowed to win? And if he loses, I'm sure there's a lot of people are going to be, really raising the rooftops because let's face it, he tells it like it is. He's not going to quit. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find that here. Let me see. I had it right here. Well, I'll get to it in a minute. Let me see. No, I guess I don't have it here. But anyway, we'll have to see what's going to happen. I thought I had that here. Anyway, I'll probably come back to that because there was something that I wanted to show you, but I might have misplaced it. Anyway, on Fox News, Jared Kushner was interviewed, and he continues to basically tell the same narrative that everybody's been pushing on the mainstream networks all this time, having to do with a peace deal with Hamas. So anyway, here's Jared Kushner.
Mr. Kushner, thank you for speaking with Fox News. It's good to be with you. You just returned from Jerusalem meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Yesterday you were in Egypt meeting with Hamas officials. In terms of the Gaza ceasefire, how close is Hamas to laying down their weapons?
It could be very close. So yesterday we had a great meeting in Cairo with the mediators and with Hamas and actually with the National Committee, which is the new technocratic Palestinian government that will go over when they hand over control. And they reaffirmed all their commitments to President Trump's 20-point peace plan and to the 15-point roadmap that we've been working on with them for the last 4 months, where they commit to giving up their weapons. Now, this sounds like a very crazy thing because Hamas has had weapons for a long time and has been a terrible terrorist organization. But at this point, with the pressure from all the mediators and with the United States, they do seem willing to do it, and time will tell whether that's going to be implemented. But we feel like we can be very close to knowing, and we're making a lot of progress towards trying to get to the next steps.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu recently called the Board of Peace roadmap unacceptable. Are you asking the Prime Minister to change his thinking?
I think that was his perception of the plan as he got it. I think today we had a very, very good meeting. We were there for almost 4 hours with him and his team going through all the different details. I think there were some valid concerns that they raised that we were able to address. And we were able to go through some of the misunderstandings and misinformation that's been out about it as well. I mean, certain things like we're very committed to the fact that we have a plan to rebuild Gaza, but we will not allow Gaza to be rebuilt until the demilitarization occurs. Nobody wants to put more money into a place that's gone on for so long until if it's just going to be taken over by terrorists or blown up again. We're also not going to restrict Israel's right to defend itself if there are any imminent threats, and so we had to clarify what that means. And then we went through the mechanism as well for what we need to do in terms of how to actually take the weapons. And so if we cooperate together, and I think that we left the meeting agreeing to cooperate and work on the different areas of demilitarization and some of the humanitarian steps that we want to make in order to improve Gaza, we can be seeing progress, in as little as 30 days, hopefully on starting to take some of the weapons out and hopefully filling in some of the tunnels as well in the next 60 to 90 days as well.
Okay, I'm going to pause it for a second. They're concerned about disarming Hamas because, of course, Israel has a right to defend itself. Well, let me ask you, do the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves? I guess they don't. And you consider what's been going on in Palestine, in the Gaza Strip, in the West Bank for all these years. I mean, they keep on bombing Palestine. They take out the hospitals, take out the school, take out the infrastructure, take out the agricultural area, take out all the infrastructure. And they're not supposed to defend themselves against this? And it's going on right now in South Lebanon. They keep blaming Hamas. Anyway, I'm going to let him finish this, and then we're going to follow through with something else.
So progress could come quite soon, but we do need cooperation from both sides, and we're going to hopefully get through. But we've made a lot of progress to get here.
Okay, we've made a lot of progress to get here. And again, he likes to talk about the hostages, that the 28 hostages that were returned, the bodies were returned to Israel. But they don't ever mention the Palestinian hostages. Oh, I'm sorry. They're prisoners. There's a difference there, right? Right? Yeah, they're hostages. And nobody's really sure exactly how many. I mean, there's estimates between 8,000 and 10,000 quote-unquote prisoners, or can we call them hostages? Of course, we don't get to talk about that. So, and of course, I remind you that Jared Kushner is working on that, obtaining that little island off the coast of Albania, and the Albanians are still protesting about this. So, Anyway, as far as this thing about Hamas, yeah, we all know what's been going on with Hamas for years and years. I remember it was at 2007, Ron Paul was on the floors of Congress explaining that Hamas was a creation of Israel, and it was, because they wanted it to go up against Hezbollah, all right? But as far as the funding is concerned, I played this clip yesterday. I'll play it again. Where did Hamas get all their money? How much money were they getting? Let's listen to John Oliver. Of course, John Oliver is a late-night television comedian, and he's been basically way over on the left, but a lot of these issues are nonpartisan. Here's John Oliver.
No one would say Netanyahu personally caused October 7th. But
when I first heard this story, I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border.
For years, he deliberately allowed Qatar to funnel money into Gaza, literally sending suitcases full of money there in the backseats of cars.
Between 2012 and 2018, Qatar funneled over $1 billion into Gaza, with Netanyahu's direct approval starting in 2014. A former Mossad official later described it as part of a deliberate strategy. Keep Hamas and the Palestinian Authority divided, and a two-state solution stays off the table. The cash kept flowing by Israel's own choice until October 7th, 2023.
And he did this to try and keep in power, as it meant that he didn't have to deal with their more moderate rival, the Palestinian Authority. It was a massive gamble, and it is one that Israeli journalists still talk about today in utter disbelief.
While Netanyahu was telling us that he was our great protector, he was actually contributing, not directly, to building and making it a regional power.
It's true, Netanyahu was secretly helping beef up the very organization that he claimed to be protecting Israelis against, and he was open about his thinking here. He once told a prominent Israeli journalist that a strong was actually a good thing, as it meant a divided Palestinian government, which would lessen the pressure on him to negotiate toward a Palestinian state.
He wasn't just open about it once. Netanyahu made the same argument to a journalist in 2012, then again at a Likud faction meeting in 2019, where he said plainly, whoever opposes a Palestinian state should support the funding. When Time magazine asked him about it directly in 2024, Netanyahu denied ever saying it, but multiple Israeli outlets had already reported the quote.
And sure, if something's a threat, why not make it more dangerous? It's like the classic advice, if you're ever threatened by a bear, give the bear a gun as part of a long-term strategy to make negotiation with that bear less diplomatically feasible. What is the worst that could happen?
My pattern recognition over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right.
Yeah, our guts are usually right. And he did mention Maui. Okay, well, I've been covering this issue about these forest fires, these wildfires, covering them last week. And if you'd like to see some of the footage and the coverage that cover that, you can go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and scroll down till you see all the archives. You can see it for yourself. Now, this issue about Hamas. Yeah, I remember when Bibi Netanyahu made that statement, and I think it was in 2019. He said, I think I'm paraphrasing, but I may be actually quoting, and he said, in order to secure a Palestinian state, in other words, in order to take control, in order to secure a Palestinian state, we must continue to support Hamas. We must continue to fund Hamas. Those are Bibi's words. So the point is that this entire conflict in Palestine has been generated and perpetuated by Bibi Netanyahu, and for continuing to attack these people and to prevent them from defending themselves. Okay, so as a matter of fact, this issue, of course, we heard Charlie Kirk had stated that. Was there a stand-down order? Was there a stand-down order? He was questioning what had happened on October 7th. And I've been talking about that ever since it happened. As a matter of fact, there's a documentary film on Rumble by John Hankey, I believe it is. And it says, it's titled, October 7th was 100% an inside job. If you want to see it, it's loaded with all kinds of documentation and interviews with IDF soldiers. And it's not just that. Ben Swan has been covering this, along with several others. Clayton Morris from Redacted has covered this issue. But let's take a look at Ben Swan's latest contribution towards this controversy about what happened on October 7th.
The Hamas fighters who crossed the border came on motorcycles and pickup trucks carrying AK-47s and light rocket-propelled grenades. An AK-47 fires small lead bullets. It cannot vaporize a row of sedans. It cannot melt engine blocks. It does not possess the capability to turn an entire highway into a graveyard of melted steel. You know what can do that, though? Hellfire missiles, autocannons, the type of heavy weapons deployed by Israeli Apache helicopters. For nearly 3 years, you have been given a highly sanitized, strictly police narrative about what occurred in Israel on October 7th. We've been told a very specific story, right? Anyone who stepped outside of that story, anyone who asked logical questions about how one of the most advanced militaries on earth stood down for 7 hours while its own citizens were attacked and killed was immediately branded, you know the words, conspiracy theorist, anti-Semitic. But what happens when the official narrative begins to splinter under the weight of actual evidence? See, tonight, new documentary footage has emerged out of Israel. This isn't speculation from the dark corners of the internet. This is raw footage of a high-ranking Israeli official caught on camera in the chaos of October 7th, speaking in Hebrew, explicitly coordinating what can only be described as something called the Hannibal Directive. Watch this.
הייתי עכשיו מפציץ את כל קו הרצועה עם ארטילריה, דופק להם מכה על מנת שיהיה להם בעיה. מה שלהם על זה? כתבתי את זה לאמיר. הם לא מעלים מזכרים, את רוצה שנראה? לא, על עזה. פרק את הכל. עם החיילים שחטפו להם.
אלו הרגעים הראשונים בחמ"ל המשטרה.
איפה? באיזה יישוב?
עוד לפני שהשר הממונה יגיע. בטרם יוחלט מה לשידור ומה לצנזור.
רגע, אתה מצלם שם? אני נותן לך אישור, אתה צלם את זה. תוציא את זה בבקשה.
Okay, if you read that bottom line there, he said, please take this out. Think about that for a moment. Why would a government minister in the middle of a national crisis panic over a camera capturing tactical discussions only to be viewed later? What were they trying to hide? Well, I'm glad you asked. They wanted to hide that the command was just uttering on tape, quote, break it all apart, along with the soldiers who were abducted. What does that mean? That is something called the Hannibal Directive. 2 years ago, I was one of the very first reporters in the U.S. to actually report on this whole situation and exposed at the time the fact that Israel had clearly used the Hannibal Directive. Here is some of that report. When the IDF began to finally use their firepower and military to engage Hamas in southern Israel, did they exclusively target enemy militants? Well, evidence actually points to no. To understand what the Israeli military did to their own civilians on October 7th, you have to understand the political aspirations of Hamas and what the goal of taking hostages is. Political leverage. There are over 10,000 Palestinians in Israeli jails, 3,000 of whom have not been to trial or charged with a crime. When militant groups manage to capture Israeli civilians or soldiers, it gives them leverage to force a prisoner swap and to get some of their people out of Israeli prison. For example, in 1986, Hamas managed to kidnap 3 Israeli soldiers and bring them into Gaza. They demanded 1,150 Palestinian prisoners in return for those 3 soldiers. Well, after this, the military drafted a secret field order to prevent future kidnappings. It was called the Hannibal Directive. The directive gets its name from the Carthaginian general who chose to poison himself rather than allow himself to be captured alive by the Romans. Back in 2003, again, strangely enough, October 7th, 2003, 3 Israeli soldiers were taken hostage and brought into Lebanon. Following the activation of the Hannibal Directive, IDF attack helicopters fired indiscriminately on 26 vehicles, thus ensuring the death of their own soldiers and therefore robbing Lebanese militants of the ability to demand Israel make concessions. Again, that report was from 2 years ago. So now you know the Hannibal Directive dictates that if an Israeli soldier or citizen is on the verge of being captured or taken hostage, or if they are captured by enemy forces, the military's priority is to neutralize the kidnapping at all costs. even if it means killing any and all Israeli hostages alongside their captors.
Yeah. So now we know what the Hannibal Directive is, and you might have noticed that he was talking about the concert goers and how their cars were basically melted. Now, he mentioned that, Hamas probably wouldn't have Tomahawk missiles. So I don't know. Maybe there were some other weapons that were used that had the capability of melting cars. We've been hearing a lot about melted cars with all of these wildfires. Isn't that interesting? So we have to ask the question, who might have access to the type of weapon that would melt a car, an engine block, melt the aluminum wheels, melt the glass? A lot of talk has been going on about direct energy weapons. We have been covering that over this past week. So that's something that we want to put into our little brain here and figure that out. So is it possible? Is it possible that, yes, this was an inside job? And we have to also ask the question, did Charlie know about that? So anyway, as far as their methodology for taking out Hamas, and I asked this question a long time ago. I mean, if you've got a terrorist, a crazed shooter, we've had a lot of school shootings in this country, so if there's a school shooter in there that's killing people, what do? Do you bomb the whole school? I asked that question like 2 years ago, and you know who else is asking that question now? It's Jim Brewer. Check it out.
Let's say there's terrorists in a school. Do we bomb our children? Do we bomb the kids? How many innocent lives? About 300. How many bad guys? Just 6 of them. Bomb it all! Yeah! Well, October 7th. Hey, what about the hospitals? There's 3 or 4 bad guys in there. Bomb it all! Yeah! What kind of sick mentality is that? If my neighbor does horrific things in my home, do I get to massacre my entire neighborhood and then decide, you know what? Now I'm going to go to Bonita Springs, and then I'm going to go to Georgia, and then I'm going to convince America that we should fight another country and take that leader out because I said they're bad. Makes you wonder who's running our country.
Yeah, I wonder who's running our country. I wonder who's running our country. A lot of other people are starting to worry about and think about who's running our country. As a matter of fact, there was a man on the street that was asking that very question to just, people who were walking by. Here's what the answer was.
What's the biggest threat to America?
Israel. Israel. When the politicians are kissing a wall, that means that we're no longer America first.
What do you think is the biggest threat to America?
Jewish people.
What's the biggest threat to America?
Israel. Our whole government is ran by Israel. Israel is our main problem.
AIPAC. It's Israel. It's Israel.
Threat to America, AIPAC.
We're sending all our foreign aid to Israel. It's not good for our country, man. And also Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of awakening, a lot of noticing going on, don't you think? Anyway, let's see. We're coming under the bottom of the hour. I'm going to take a quick break to pay the bills.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And you can get more Tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors button and scroll on down. It'll take you to an area where you can click on Get More Tank and get all the specifications and details on how and why this fuel catalyst works. Not an additive, it's a catalyst. Makes the fuel burn a little bit more efficiently. And what happens is that right off the bat, you'll start to feel more power. When you hit the accelerator, your vehicle takes off. And what happens over a period of time is that it starts to clean itself out and run more efficiently. It's running cleaner. It's running more efficiently. It's giving you more power. And after a couple of tanks, you'll start to see an increase in your mileage. Yeah, anywhere between 15 and 20%, depending, of course, on your make, model, and year of vehicle and your driving habits. But do the math. If you're getting 20% better mileage, $20 is what you get when what you pay when you use the promo code RedPill101, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, after you've made five tablets for $20, and if you're getting 20% better mileage, when you do the math, figure it out. That means the fifth tank is free. Spend $20, get a free tank of gas. It's a no-brainer, folks. It runs better, it runs cleaner, and you get better mileage. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors button and get more tank. Okay, it's 32 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And yeah, I've been railing against the mainstream media for years and years. I wrote a song about 25 years ago screaming about the lying, propagandizing, gaslighting, manipulating media. And as long as you continue to consume intellectual fecal matter from the networks, that means you're going to end up with stuff for brains.
Broadcast stations we control, induced complacency that go let people think that they are free. Distractions broadcast on TV are influence in Washington make people do what we want done. Eventually when we are through, they'll do just what we tell them to.
Yeah, that's the way it is, folks. Yeah, we're just being manipulated and goose-stepping into a global conflict. And I got to tell you, folks, there are some folks out there that are warning us, don't do it, don't do it. We know that Israel has been pulling the strings before John F. Kennedy was assassinated. We got to somehow figure out how to break these chains that America has been tied down with or chained down with by this particular group of people who call themselves Jews. They wrap themselves in the religious flag with that Star of David. And by the way, there never was a Star of David. The whole thing is a fabrication. There is a Star of Remphan, also known as Moloch, also known as Baal. Yeah, these are the people who are running our country. As a matter of fact, China is warning us. Here's, I don't know who this guy is, but I think his name is there. But anyway, check this out.
I want to tell the Israeli government and the Israeli leaders that the moment Israel uses a nuclear warhead against any other country, including against Iran, it will be the demise of Israel as a country, as a state. Why? Because by dropping a nuclear warhead against another country, Israel will become the public enemy number one of mankind, because mankind will never support Israel to use nuclear warhead against another country, killing hundreds of thousands, if not more, people, and they will really ignite huge condemnation among other countries against the government or the regime in Israel and causing the demise of Israel as a regime, as a country.
Yeah, and I also want to throw in there, so there you have China saying, hey, wait a second, if Israel, and i.e. the United States, because the whole world knows that the United States is being run by Israel. It's not a big secret, all right? So if Israel or the United States utilizes a nuclear option, you just heard that the Chinese are not going to put up with that. You know who else won't put up with that? is Russia. Russia also made that statement that if Israel uses a nuclear bomb, they will use a nuclear bomb. So we're right on the edge here, folks. As a matter of fact, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I should have pulled up that clip, but Kim Iverson was discussing a tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene, and so Ms. Greene was saying that there was an actual discussion about the nuclear option. So we've got madmen that are running the asylum here, and it doesn't look like it's going to get straightened out unless the American people rediscover their testicular fortitude and start standing up, making their calls, sending their emails, whatever they got to do. As a matter of fact, last night I went to the city council meeting in Kalispell because they were going to be discussing the possibility of having a contract with flock safety. Yeah, the flock cameras. Well, there was quite a turnout. And as a result, we heard this morning that they put off that particular discussion or contract negotiation for at least another year. So there's a little bit of a victory there. They didn't really close the door on it, but I think we made a little bit of a difference. And you can too. But you got to roll up your sleeves, you got to get off your butt, and you got to make your phone calls, and you got to get active, start paying attention, because your kids and your grandkids will either bless your activism or they will curse your complacency. That's just the way it is. Okay, and as far as what's coming down the pike, if you don't start standing up, if you don't start raising your voice, if you don't start getting involved, guess what?
In the town of Sir al-Gharabiyya, I don't know if you can hear the 2 Israeli drones hovering above our heads right now, but I have a message to the American taxpayers. While you're unable to afford groceries and probably one medical emergency away from bankruptcy, your tax dollars are going directly to Israel. The money is used to buy weapons to kill civilians in foreign countries. I have lost count of the number of massacres that have happened just in the last 24 hours here in Lebanon. It is dizzying. The site where I am now is the site where Israel yesterday killed 19 civilians in a massive airstrike that targeted 2 residential homes. Targeting residential areas is a war crime. I'd also like to say that the violence that you export into the world will come back to you. Your government will eventually use these tactics on you. You are next.
That's right. You are next. We are next. Because if we allow this to go on, and the way our government, Marco Rubio was saying, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that if you have a passport and you want to travel, if you have any criticism whatsoever, and they'll check your history, they'll confiscate your passport. You won't be able to travel. And we know now that there are many states that have rules or laws that state that you can't do business with the state unless you sign a pledge of allegiance to Israel. WTF. Why is this? We've been taken over, ladies and gentlemen. This country has been occupied. We are occupied. And we got to fight to get it back. Real simple. Let's see. What do we have here? This issue about Zionism. I've been screaming about this for quite some time. Zionism is political dogma. Judaism is a religion. It's not apples and oranges, folks. It's apples and crescent wrenches or power tools. They're 2 completely different issues. Zionism is creating a particular state, like the state of Israel, a certain area that is exclusive to one particular group of people. And I've mentioned this before. For example, if we were to turn into the Zionist United States of America, we could take one state like Illinois and say, okay, that's going to be the Protestant state of Illinois. If you're Protestant, you get to move to Illinois. If you're not Protestant and you live there, you have to leave. And you have to leave all your stuff behind. And if you don't, they get to kill you. That's the way it works. At least that's the example that's been given to us in Palestine. So that's what Zionism is. Simple as that. I mean, I'm a very simple guy. I mean, that's the way I perceive it to be. If I'm wrong, okay, that's great. But I mean, I go by deeds and not words. I see what's going on with Israel and what they're doing to the Palestinians. They're exterminating them. Yes, it is genocide. No matter what they try to say, oh, it's not genocide. It is genocide by every single definition of the word. As a matter of fact, Robert David Steele tried to warn us, rest his soul. He was trying to warn us about a lot of stuff. It seems that people who try to warn us about Zionism or about sex trafficking or child, ritual abuse somehow gets offed. Anyway, here's Robert David Steele.
Zionism is the enemy. The deep state is the enemy. Banks are the enemy. I believe the American public is now ready to throw Zionists out of the United States of America. Let me give you just two examples that have recently come to public attention. There is legislation before Congress that makes it a felony, a major crime, to criticize Israel and call for a boycott of Israel. Every member of Congress who has co-sponsored that legislation is likely to lose the next election. People will no longer tolerate putting Israel first. The second major example, we have 23 states in the United States that will not give citizens disaster relief or a contract with the state unless they sign a loyalty pledge to Israel, which is to say they sign a pledge that says they have never boycotted Israel, they will never boycott Israel in the future. This is Israel first, not America first, across 23 states. These are the kinds of things that all Americans are now starting to understand. So I believe that there is a major need for an educational push toward the American public. We need to all agree that Zionism is the enemy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think anybody who looks into this issue and has been following the bouncing bomb can see it too. Anyway, just a quick reminder, this broadcast is, of course, broadcast live on the Red State Talk Radio Network from 2:05 until 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and that equates to 11:05 to 12 noon Pacific Time. Now, if you're listening during that period of time, I haven't opened up the phone lines, but hopefully if I have a little time, I will. But the point is, though, is that we are also videotaping these programs. Not all of them, but I'm videotaping today's program, and I did yesterday's as well. And these will be archived at our website, TheWTFReports.com. So you'll be able to go to TheWTFReports.com, scroll down, and all of the audio shows and video shows are archived there. So, and what I like to do is I like to show the receipts. I have the video clips, I'll show the documents, etc., so you can't say that Dave said that. You get to hear it directly from the horse's mouth. So, and if you appreciate that, I would ask that you show your appreciation by doing business with our sponsors. And of course, I mentioned Get More Tank, and also there's the Wave Watch. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing my Wave Watch. Can you hear it? Let's see. I'll turn up the volume here so you can hear this. Yeah, can you hear it? I'm running a program for my hearing, see if my hearing can improve. I started using it for my eyes, and I have to say my eyes have gotten better. I do still use my readers, but the thing is that you got to be consistent with it. You can't just use it a couple times and say, oh, okay, that works, and then stop using it, because then it doesn't work. So you got to keep on using it. But anyway, so you can check out the Wave Watch when you go to TheWTFReports.com. The pop-up will take you to an area where you can read all about Rife Technology, Royal Raymond Rife, and Tesla, Nikolai Tesla, who said frequency is everything. And more people are starting to realize that that is the truth. Anyway, so check it out. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and check out the Wave Watch. And if you're enjoying this broadcast, I appreciate you clicking like, share, subscribe, spread the word. And we also have some merch. We've got, I didn't have it here, my coffee cup. But we got coffee cups, baseball caps, and T-shirts, etc., so you can help us help the cause. So, anyway, let me see. There was something else I wanted to get to. Yes, a retired Major Ojeda. Let me see. I'm going to let you hear this statement because, we are in dire straits right now. This country has been occupied, and now, as that woman just said, we are under threat. what we're seeing going on in Gaza right now could very well come here, because now they're discussing Noahide laws. If you don't know what the Noahide laws are, look it up. Because if you're a Christian, you are an idol worshiper and you are punishable by death. Yeah. And that's where we're going. So anyway, here is retired Major Ojeda with a message for our dear President Donald John Trump.
This message is to Mr. President Donald Trump and to every general and political appointee sitting in his military cabinet. My name is Major Retired Richard Ojeda, and I wore this nation's uniform and fought this nation's wars for 24 years. I'm speaking to you as a combat soldier who understands orders and understands lines that you do not cross. Last week, one of your senior military commanders was asked in a congressional hearing about using military force inside the United States against American citizens. And he said if an order came down to do so, he would carry out that order. On my back, I've got the names of 13 of my brothers who never returned home from war. I want you to hear me loud and clear when I say this. They did not die for this. They did not die so the President of the United States could label people who disagree with him as domestic terrorists and enemies from within. The real enemy is any person in leadership that tries to turn the weapons of war on the American citizens and calls it patriotism. So when you say the enemy is within, Mr. President, you're right. The enemy of our Constitution is sitting inside the Oval Office. I've seen war. I've picked up a rifle and manned a post. I know exactly what the enemy looks like when this nation is under attack. So when I hear what's coming out of your White House right now, I recognize it better than most because I've seen this con job before. I saw it when it was time to lace up our boots and when politicians like you needed a story strong enough to send young men and women into hell and call it service. I watched communities get wiped out over weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. Millions of people lost their lives because our leaders were willing to put people in harm's way over a lie. I remember the faces. I remember the fear. I remember the kids. And I remember what it's like when you return home and realize it was all for nothing. I know the weight that it carries to realize that the government you once believed in, bled for, and fought for sent you into battle over a lie. But not one time, not one damn time, when I was standing in the line of fire, did I look to my left or my right and ask my brother how he voted before I decided if I would defend him. Now you're taking that same logic, the logic that collapses nations, and you're trying to turn it against Americans on American soil. You're trying to make people afraid to speak, afraid to protest, afraid to disagree with you in the name of terrorism and patriotism. And I'm not going to sit by and watch you bring home the very thing we were sent overseas to fight. One day my time on this earth will be over, and I'm going to see my brothers again. And when I do, I want to be able to look them in the eye and say, I upheld the oath. I defended the principles we bled for. And I didn't stay quiet while America turned on itself. My brothers that did not return home were not suckers and losers like you once said. They were men of honor who served this nation and upheld their oath to protect and defend the Constitution. And I carry their sacrifice with me every single day. That's why today I'm calling on every military veteran, active duty service member, Guard, Reserve, Commander, and Gold Star family across this nation. Remember your oath. We did not take an oath to a president. We did not take an oath to a political party. We took an oath to the Constitution of the United States to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if any of my brothers were here today, they would be sickened by what this country is being asked to accept. To every active duty service member, stand up. Remember your oath. To every veteran across this nation, our oath does not die with retirement. We have a duty to uphold it at all costs. And to every military commander, I want you to remember Nuremberg. I was just following orders isn't a defense for war crimes. And to you, Mr. President, we don't defend America by hunting Americans. We defend America by protecting American citizens, even when it comes to protecting them from our own president. We're not going to drop bombs on nonprofits because you don't agree with them. We aren't going to treat American citizens like military targets just because you don't like what they say about you. And we're not going to let anyone steal the freedoms that our brothers and sisters bled and died for on the battlefield. Not even you, Mr. President. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.
Yeah, hoorah! I'll go along with that. And yeah, this is a call for all the veterans out there. And I got to be honest, I've been standing by the veterans for decades and decades. Back in the 90s, Joyce Riley and I were the American Gulf War Veterans Association. And we were doing anything and everything that we could to help the veterans from the first Gulf War because they were exposed to chemicals. Yes, they were exposed to biologicals. Yes, they were given experimental vaccines, protistigmine bromide pills. And when they returned from honorable service with all these horrendous problems, they were told it was all in their head. They had PTSD and they had to take Prozac or Busbar or Ativan or any other psychotropic drug, and admit that they had maybe were a latent homosexual and had to get themselves a kitten. And that's what the treatment that our veterans were getting. And it wasn't just the vets from the first Gulf War. We remember the veterans from the Vietnam War, their exposure to Agent Orange and all kinds of other problems. But the point is that, I never served in a uniform. I couldn't. I had a split patella. My left knee was screwed up. And I also have an extra vertebrae that I didn't know about until about 10 years ago. Well, I know it was actually more than that. But anyway, the bottom line here is I took the oath as well. And it breaks my heart to know that there are veterans out there that think that just because they've retired and just because they served their tour of duty, that they don't have to stand up and defend this country anymore. And they don't want to raise their voices because they might lose their pension or something like that. No, America is at war right now. This is not a game, folks. This is not a game. And like I said a few minutes ago, your great-grandchildren will either applaud your activism or they will curse your apathy and your complacency. It's up to us, folks. As a matter of fact, I wrote a song about that, saying, "Come on, America, get with the program." And here it is.
Opinions expressed by our numbers that grow may tell you some things that you don't want to know. You can say that we're crazy, you can call us a name, but unless you do something, the result is the same. For unknown generations, we've been living a lie. While some struggled for truth, many others stood by. Is the spirit within you? Do you think that you'll try to look for the answers and ask your lawmakers why? So come on, America, join in the fight and resist their corruption with all of your might. You can hide in the darkness or stand in the light. No, your God won't be with you till you do what is right. We continue to trust such a small group of men who have robbed us before, and they'll do it again. Yes, they worship the dollar, the silver, the gold, and they haven't a soul. It's already been sold. And they say that we're liable, and they say that we owe, and if we don't pay their tax, off to jail we will go. But we've checked out the law, and we've studied their code, and when it's all understood, not a penny is owed. So come on, America, don't hesitate. We must all stand together before it's too late. So many before you were willing to die, and if you sit and do nothing, your children will cry. And they created a villain, they say he's the one who's destroying your freedoms, and a war has begun. But the ones with the power legislate every day, passing laws that are taking your freedoms away. And to all those in uniform, please understand, we're not clenching our fists, we're extending our hands. You can ask any veteran, he'll tell you it's true that your Washington leaders don't care about you. So come on, America, now is the time for exposing their fraud and uncovering their crime. If we sit and do nothing, we forever will be to blame for the fall of our liberty. If we're to be honest, if we're to be just, we must live by our motto, in God we will trust. You don't have to believe, and that is your choice, but opinions don't count if you don't raise your voice. Now the time's finally come, we must all take a stand and tell your brothers and sisters, help them all understand that your freedom's been stolen, the line's crossed in the sand, and if we turn from the wicked, he'll come heal our land. So come on, America, join in the fight and stand up to the tyrants with all of your might. You can hide in the darkness, you can stand in the light. No, your God won't be with you till you do what is right. If you love your country, you'll join in the fight and stand up to corruption with all of your might. We won't hide in the darkness, we'll stand in the light. Yes, our God's truly with us, 'cause we're doing what's right.
Yeah, it's up to us, folks. It really is. And if you don't think that we're at war right now, well, then you're just not paying attention. And I would ask right now, I know that there are a lot of folks out there that are listening to this broadcast. You know what I'm talking about. There are people in your social circle that are not only asleep, but they become hostile when you try to wake them up. But you've got to be relentless. You've got to keep going. Say, look, I'm reaching out to you as an act of love, because it's your family and it's your kids and your relatives that are going to suffer if we don't pay attention and rediscover our heritage as Americans. We have our first document of law, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and they are under attack right now on many different fronts. And that's this issue about the flock cameras. And if they get rid of the flock contracts, there's another contract for Axon or whatever other technology that they're going to have. And we are moving towards a dystopian nightmare if we don't wake up our brethren. So I would ask humbly, respectfully, that you get active. Roll up your sleeves. Do whatever it is that you've got, whatever talent that you've got, use it. Let people know. Let me see. Okay, yeah, I'm just checking the time here. Let people know that we are in dire straits right now. And like that clip from that reporter in South Lebanon, she basically warned us, if you don't think it's coming here, then you're not paying attention, because there is a conflict, and I think that the powers that be are trying to generate a holy war, get the Christians to fight against the Muslims, while that third group of people stands on the side and goes, So what's the greatest threat? Is Israel our greatest ally, or are they a mortal enemy? That's a good question. So with that said, okay, that's going to wrap it up for today's Tuesday edition of the WTF Reports. As always, I humbly and respectfully request that you click like, share, and subscribe on whatever platform that you're watching or listening on, whether it be Rumble or BitChute or Facebook or YouTube or X. Yeah, this is how we grow. So if you can, do some business with our advertisers, or if you just want to make a donation on our GoFundMe, you can do that too. All right, that said, that's going to wrap it up. And Anyway, like I said, this broadcast has been videotaped. It'll be posted on our website, TheWTFReports, in the very near future. So until tomorrow, I don't know if I'll do a video tomorrow, but we'll see. So until tomorrow, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and God willing, I'll see you tomorrow.